Hi, I'd like to welcome you to the Momumentary on single moms raising children with food allergy and anaphylaxis. In the United States, about 6 million children are affected by this disorder. People who live in our community sometimes have a difficult time from diagnosis to actually living. There are people outside of our community, because of the nature of the disorder, who don't understand what we have to live like, the things that we have to do, what our tolerations are on a day-to-day basis. Because this particular disorder can be different for every person, then it makes people believe sometimes that we might be stretching the truth a little bit. And that's just from a lack of understanding, a lack of education about the disorder itself. My role has been as the parent of a food allergic child for several years, but I also serve as an advocate and educator, helping families understand how to get from diagnosis to living. I also do professional development for schools as well as for child care providers so that they can understand food allergen safety training. I'm not in any way, shape, or form a medical provider. I can't give anyone medical advice. But what I can do is put together widely recognized information to help people understand how to manage the disorder and to keep our kids safe. You might ask why I'm doing this Momumentary. What's the purpose of it? Each day is different in the lives of food allergic people. There are foods that are everywhere. They're all around us. They're in the schools. They're in our workplaces. They're everywhere we go. If you had to walk through life each and every day, surrounded by something that could take your life, can you imagine how much anxiety and fear that could create in a person? These are the types of things that our people in our community have to live with every day. Imagine that as an adult, but more so imagine that being a child. A child who has to know everything that they eat at all times. A child who can't eat a lot of the things that their friends eat. A child that's so severe that they have to be careful about going certain places. That's a lot of pressure for an adult, let alone for a child to have to deal with. I'm not here to try to make our children seem like victims and to come to you with the woe is me attitude. Because one thing I can say about children who suffered from this disorder, they're troopers. They're strong little people. They've had to face adversity that many of us have never seen in our entire lives. They've had to stand up to people when they didn't even know what they were standing up for. So they're fighters. They're not victims. But the life itself can cause a lot of stress. When you get that phone call from the school nurse, you don't know what's happening on the other end of the phone. When you have to go into school to get an accommodation so that your child can be safe, and you're up against a team of people who don't understand the disorder and make you feel like you're crazy, that can be tough. So I decided to chronicle my life for 30 days and give you an inside peek of what it's like not only raising a child like this, but doing it by myself. With two people, it's hard. With one person, it can be incredibly challenging. Am I a victim? Absolutely not. I'm a fighter. I'm a survivor. But I want each and every person out there who's living this life to be a fighter and a survivor too. And for anyone who's not living this life, I want you to learn how to have empathy, to have compassion. We didn't ask for this. No one did. But we're living it. We're doing it. And some days we don't want to, but we don't have a choice. So each day as I fight to keep my own child safe, I want to encourage you to continue to fight to keep yours safe as well. You're the best advocate they can ever have. You're the biggest voice that they could ever have. At 13 months, this journey started for us, and it's continued on. If you look categorically, there are 8 allergens that comprise 90% of allergic reactions. Right now, we're avoiding all 8 categories. But what does that mean for my child? That means that we're avoiding 16 different foods right now. This is often accompanied by asthma. Some children end up with eosinophilic esophagitis. There are other things that can factor in that can make this even more challenging and make the obstacles bigger for us. But we can do it. We can do it together. So I encourage you to come back and look at the next episode. And maybe you can learn something from me, because I'm surely learning something from each and every one of you that I advocate for every day. And I thank you. I'll see you on day 2.